A key element of intravenous therapy is maintenance of the appropriate flow rate. An infusion rate that is too slow or too fast can result in circulatory, renal, and neurologic complications. An infusion that is too slow also increases the risk of clotting at the IV site, creating the need to restart the IV. Questions to consider in maintaining the correct infusion rate include the following. Why is the patient receiving intravenous fluids? What is the prescribed volume of fluid to be infused, the prescribed time for the infusion, and what is the drop factor for the type of infusion tubing being used? Always read the physician's order carefully and ask questions if you are uncertain about any element of prescribed therapy. The order should state the correct solution to be given intravenously, any additives, and the volume of solution to be given over a specific period of time, usually 24 hours. An order for 1 liter over 24 hours is often referred to as a keep vein open rate of infusion. For example, this order states that 1,000 milliliters of 5% dextrose in 1/2 normal saline is to be administered over 10 hours to Mrs. Baker. To determine her hourly infusion rate, divide the total volume by the number of hours. The hourly infusion rate for Mrs. Baker is 100 milliliters per hour. After determining the hourly rate, calculate the drops per minute rate. A regular drip or macro drip infusion set may deliver 10 or 20 drops per milliliter. The infusion set used here is calibrated to deliver 20 drops per milliliter. For Mrs. Baker, this equals a drip rate of 2,000 drops per hour, or approximately 32 drops per minute. The standard approach for controlling the infusion rate is to manually regulate the drip chamber that attaches to all IV tubing. Once you have determined the drops per minute to be infused, adjust the roller clamp on the IV tubing until you can regulate the desired drops per minute. Use your wristwatch and observe and count the drip rate for 1 full minute to ensure the rate is correct. A variety of electronic infusion pumps and other devices are available for more precise control of infusions. The flow is controlled by the pump, which physically milks or compresses the tubing to propel fluid through the line. Open the door to the infusion pump and insert the IV tubing. Be sure the drip regulator on the tubing is open completely to allow the pump to regulate the flow. Set the infusion pump to deliver either the prescribed volume of fluid over the correct period of time or the calculated drip rate. Use a watch to check the drip rate. The pumps contain various alarm systems that are activated in response to various problems. If the drops are not detected at the appropriate rate, if the solution container empties, or if pressure within the system increases. During each interaction with your patient, assess the IV infusion site to be certain the line is still patent. Gently compress the vein proximal to the insertion site and check to see that fluid ceases to flow into the drip chamber. If fluid continues to flow through the line, assess for infiltration. Place adhesive tape or commercial fluid indicator tape on the IV bottle or bag. Next to the volume markings, mark the time intervals that correspond with the prescribed flow rate. This gives a quick visual cue for evaluating if the correct amount of fluid infuses each hour. Plan hourly assessments. If a problem develops, respond quickly to infusion pump alarms. Use your critical thinking skills as you assess the patient's IV. Note the type of fluid and volume of IV fluid infused and the rate of infusion. Observe the patient for signs of overhydration or dehydration, such as a change in vital signs, to determine response to therapy and restoration of fluid and electrolyte balance. Routinely evaluate the status of the vascular access site for signs of potential complications. Record your observations on the nursing notes or IV flow sheet and the patient's intake and output form. Report any problems to the physician.